Hello and welcome to the latest from Heart Standard. My name is Joel Sked and I am once again joined by Tom Irving. Tom, you are in Finland just now. How's it going?
Yes, I am. I'm watching. Well, I'm joining in with kind of training and just being around the club and stuff for the club I work with, SJK. So it's been quite an interesting few days. We got a game tomorrow, which should be interesting as well. So yeah, been quite fun so far.
How's the team won in handsome fashion over the weekend? During the week. Sorry, this is Friday.
Yeah.
And in the league, doing okay.
Yeah. So we won
in the top
7-0.
half.
Yeah. We won 7-0 in the cup on Wednesday. The team actually put out a top division team in the previous round. And so we went into obviously thinking we should win, but a bit cautious, not cautious, but thinking they can pull out an upset. We scored within 90 seconds, and then it was 5-0 at half time or something. So pretty good. Season's been good. First 5 games, like won 5 in a row, and then playing brilliant football, and then we get a few injuries. Starting 2 centre backs got injured. Our third centre back got injured, and it was just. And then on top of that, like 3-4 other injuries. So we were struggling for quite a quick succession of games as well. We had maybe 3-4 games in like 2-3 weeks. So bad time to have it. Went on a bad run, but we got our players back now, and should be a good few months hopefully. So pushing. We're in Europe in July next month. So hopefully get a good run leading up to those European games over it maybe.
Good stuff. We won't talk too much about European football because we've got none to look forward to at Hearts. So we are here to discuss the most recent Heart of Midlothian signing, Claudio Braga. He has arrived from Ailsland in the Norwegian second tier. I might have butchered that.
Yes,
Allison's in the Norwegian second tier. As he said, becomes the 5th edition, the second forward edition after Elton Kabangu. Tom has provided the lowdown on him, both what we're going to speak about and a written piece on the site. But before we get into that, of course, Heart Standard is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Edinburgh and the surrounding area, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. So, Tom, when you looked into Claudio Braga, what was your initial assessment when you started out?
Yeah, I think it was quite funny actually, looking at social media, kickback and stuff, and the reaction to this signing, or the rumor of this signing at the time, and Portuguese, both came from the same league, but at the time when Christian, signed, no one was questioning the level of the league that he was playing in because they'd just been promoted into the top division. But with Claudio, it was it's an amateur league basically. So the first thing I did actually was just look. Like, I've looked at the comparison before and I've watched the league before, but I wanted to see what the data said about the comparison between our leagues. And as suspected, it's very much probably a merge of the Premiership and the Championship in Scotland. They play better football than they do in the Scottish Championship. There's more money than in the Scottish Championship. It's not quite Scottish Premiership, but it's a good standard. I actually compared like the transfer fees they've received in that league as well, and it's probably on par or better than the Scottish Premiership, out with the Old Firm, of course. Yeah. So as a league goes, it's a good league. It's a 16-team league as well. So I think 16. It's a good league, very strong league. Because it's a bigger league and there's a big league than in Scotland in the top division as well. It's the bottom few teams are maybe not as good, but in general, it's a high quality league. Looked into his data first.
No, you're fine. I was going to say, like, what we'll do is I'll bring up the data if you want to If you want to discuss that before we talk about the eye test and where you see him fitting in at Hearts.
Yeah. So looking at the data first, kind of looking at the attacking side of things first. I've compared him. I've not done this for a while, but I've compared his last 2 seasons because, well, the Norwegian season, I think he's played 9 games so far this season. 3 or 4 of them have been kind of late subs as well. In my eyes, it's because there's rumours that he's leaving, and the club know that he's leaving, and they're kind of trying a succession plan, and maybe leaving him out because they don't want to lose out on money if he gets injured, and only bringing him on when they need to. So I don't think he's been dropped because he's not good enough. I think, because he's played. I think he's only been dropped for like 2 or 3 games in his time there. I think it's
because you look at it from put it in our perspective. If we knew that someone was playing and was on the way out in terms of a permanent transfer fee, there'd be calls for him to be dropped and not be used.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it's not dropping him, it's like, we need to work out what we're doing without him. He's going to be gone. So we need to start planning for life after him, basically. So I don't think he's been dropped his last few games. I think it's not for ability anyway. So he's not played a lot of minutes. So the data on the right hand side of this graph, well, it's okay, but I think looking at the previous full season would have been much more useful. So I think firstly you can see it's kind of quite parallel. There is a little bit of extreme in certain places, like the expected assist per 90 and shot assist per 90 is totally different this season. And then slightly aerial duels, how many he gets involved in is quite a big difference, and accuracy of his passes to the penalty area is quite a big difference. But apart from that, it's pretty symmetrical, which is good, which shows a bit of consistency. But those ones that are kind of off, it might just be over the course of the season they'll average out to where they were last season, kind of thing. So we'll look at 2024 data for the point of this chat here. Non-penalty goals per 90, he's scoring a decent amount of goals per 90. It's a goal every 3 games, which is just pretty respectable. And I think it says a lot about where we're looking to go. We don't want to rely on a Shanks if he's here next year. We want to have 4 or 5 players who are scoring 10, 15 goals instead of one that's scoring 30 goals or whatever it is. He's scoring a decent amount of goals, and his goals is quite close to his XG, which means he's actually scoring what he should do over the course of a season, which is good. Goal conversion isn't very high, but that's not too important. Right now, I don't think that's something to worry about. Maybe something we can improve, and maybe something the coaching staff will look at and think, right, he's not converting these chances for X reason, and we can coach that. We're better coaches. We know how to deal with that.
You noted, I did. Sorry to interrupt, but you did note in the written piece that you felt that watching him, he tried to find the bottom corner. Like he was like, for example, find the bottom corner rather than the go for just getting on target.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like he was, going not risky, but going for right. The goalie's not saving this, instead of quite a lot of the time. I think we've seen our strikers out with Shanks just happy to hit the target, and then they can say, "Oh, look, I tried," and get their stats looking better. But I think, he's when he's shooting, he's actually trying to make it so, yes, that's definitely a goal if it goes on target. But sometimes he misses by a few inches. Sometimes he'll hit post. It's not so. I think with the shot accuracy and kind of goal conversion, that could be coached or could be fixed fairly simply. I think he's got all the raw attributes to score a few more goals, and we should be able to create quite a lot of chances with the countless number of wingers we've signed or been linked with. So that's good. So last season he got a decent amount of assists, which is good. Better than his XA, but I think you could say that he's creating chances for people who can score, and the people who are scoring are doing better than they should, or maybe they're just the assist, or what am I trying to say here? Maybe the XA doesn't actually show how good the assist was, or what have you. But they're fairly close, so that's good. Shot assists. So I leave this in for strikers because it shows kind of how creative they are and how many chances they're creating for other people. So he's doing pretty well for that, which is good. Taking a lot of shots per game, and getting lots of touches in the box, which is good to see. Because he can play on the left, kind of, but I would say I see him more of a kind of centre forward or maybe a 10 than I do as a winger. So yeah. Then looking in his kind of possession, is possession stats, lots of green in there, which is great. He does like to dribble with the ball, which I noticed when I was watching him. We'll get into in a second. And you can see he's one of the best in the leagues for amount of acceleration, so fast-paced runs with the ball. Involved in a lot of offensive duels and comes out on top, which is good. So an offensive duel is when he's actually, in a one-on-one situation or what have you with a player, comes kind of physically in contact with him, and he's coming out on top, which is good. And then he's passing the ball into the penalty area quite a lot, and with a decent amount of accuracy, which again, for strikers, I don't really look at crosses because usually they're more centrally and it doesn't really count as a cross. For him, centre forward, kind of 10, I think a pass into the box is much more realistic to be played on. And then off the ball, I've left in the bottom one intentionally for him. I usually don't do this with a lot of strikers, but aerial duels is good, and duels one is good as well. But the key thing there is defensive actions per 90. It's one of the best in the league at winning things defensively, so interceptions, tackles, things like that, which is important, and which is kind of what I saw when I watched him. He's not just a centre forward who's there to attack. He's got quite a lot of good work rate off the ball, and he is quite heavily involved in pressing and winning the ball from the front, which is, I think, pretty important in a lot of the ways. Not always that when we play, but I think the kind of style of play that we're looking to get next season, I think that'll be quite important, which is good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to come on to about the eye test, is that you talked about the style of play, and we talked about it with Oshie McEntee, elements of Kiaridis, and now with Braga, and even just the wee bits looked at of Ogundu. Is that a lot of these guys are can run with the ball and are very good or very energetic or very lively without the ball as well. That it's going to be, it just feeds into the fact that Hearts are going to be a much more direct team and a much more difficult team to play against. And with that, having watched him, where do you see him fitting in? Where do you see him operating the best?
Yeah, he could play kind of anywhere across the front line for me, I think. I don't see him as coming in as a winger, though. I think probably either a centre forward or 10, like I've said, but it could be a case of we're hopefully going to have a few different options in each position, and it might just be a kind of horses for courses type thing. Not 100% sure exactly which position kind of on the field specifically is going to be. Probably more centre forward for me than anything else. Potentially a 10, but I would say probably that centre forward role is where I see him.
And in terms of watching him, you watched plenty of clips of him. What were the elements that really stood out for you?
Yeah, so I think he's a bit of a, how do I describe this? A bit of a, maybe like a jack of all trades, where he's quick, but he's not ridiculously quick. He's not Mbappe or whatever. He's physically strong and quite aggressive, but he's not Uchi, let's say. He's the strongest person I could think of right now. He's not, let's think, he's not the most skillful. He's not like a Neymar or something, but he is very tricky with his feet. He's got really good close control and good technique. Very Portuguese technique. He's intelligent. He's pressing and he's good at pressing, but he's not full energy 90 minutes a game pressing. But he will give you that aspect of defending from the front and kind of pressing. He makes really good runs, both centrally and in the channels, which is good. He's got lots of confidence, which I like. He seems to really trust himself. And really backs himself, which is great. I like confident players. I think moving up to a club like Hearts, where you're playing in front of 18,000, 19,000 disgruntled Hearts fans, week in, week out, so we can be a fickle bunch, can't we? One misplaced pass and you should get sold. So I think a bit of confidence is important, and he shows a lot of that as well, which is good.
And in terms of the elements of, because that was a big thing, was reading your piece, and when we were talking about him when he was first linked, and it did seem like he was he was like an all-round player, and then kind of listening to him, it was interesting when I listened to an interview he did in English, thankfully. He's got very good English. Interview he did with the Allison's kind of podcast, and he talked about his preferred position is left wing, but he's been mainly playing through the middle, and there's a real versatility to his game, which makes you think that he can be used in different situations. It's not as if he's just like, right, this is, you pigeonhole him as this type and he'll only be used in these certain games. Is that you can kind of pick and choose, or he can be just like I think what you called him is like kind of jack all trades, but he's quite malleable, that he can move around.
Yeah, exactly. If he comes in and he is one of our stronger players, but let's say we're playing, I don't know what Dell's going to be playing next season. But if we come in and there's only one spot for a real kind of true centre forward, and we bring in someone else who's better than him, I don't think that means he's going to be sitting on the bench all the time. There's a way that we could fit him into the team as well if he's also very impressive. He can play on the wings, and he says he likes that the most. I don't know if that's his best position, to be honest. Yeah. But if he likes it the most, then there must be some reason why he likes it the most. And then he did drop back quite a lot as well, and try and get involved and get on the ball and get him and use his kind of creativity and skillfulness to get forward as well, which is good. So you could see him dropping in, like I said, to that kind of 10 role, or attacking midfield, whatever you want to call it, and being more like the link-up play player for the kind of attacking three or whatever we play with next year. So I think there is lots of versatility to his game, and I'll put on record now, yes, we'll see him in more than one position, probably 2 or 3 positions in the next year.
And just before we finish up, is there like a specific element of his game that you like the most, aside from his kind of versatility?
I would say, I think his kind of directness and kind of tenacity going forward on the ball. There was a couple occasions where he scored goals from like counter-attacks where he gets the ball in his own half and he ends up driving all the way forward, beating the goalie and scoring. And I've mentioned this previously, I don't know if it was on a podcast, but I think when I watch players, I always think, like, could our current squad do this? And there's a few of his goals that I thought, I don't think maybe one of them could do it, or none of them could score like these 3 or 4 goals, which I don't know if that's an indictment on our current squad or if it's just a very positive praise on Braga. But I think there was quite a few goals that he scored just with his kind of direct running that, we wouldn't score from our current squad, which is good. kind of stylistically wise, this is what I mentioned to you, and I hate going on record with these style comparisons, but I think it's a decent one. I don't know. So when I first watched him, actually, first initial watch, I just watched his like 5 or 6 of his goals, and I thought he looked like I can't even say the name. Gyökeres. I can't even say it.
Victor Gyökeres.
That's the one, from Sporting Lisbon. But the more I watch him, I think there is kind of comparisons there, because he is a very all-round striker as well, but he's much more physical and kind of he's got that side to his game that I don't think Braga has. But then watching more of him, I think he's quite similar to kind of a Sergio Aguero, where he's got that kind of, he's an all-round football player. You could play him anywhere on the pitch, because he's so good, just an actual brilliant all-round football player. And he's got that tenacity, he's got that drive, he's got that close control, he's got the ability to score with both feet in his head. He's he's tough, he's tenacious. I think it's a pretty good comparison for kind of the style of player that we're looking at. We're hopeful to see. Probably not the same level, but it would be great if he was. But yeah.
I mean, at least his surname goes into, it allows Ian Crocker to do the Aguero version, or the Braga version of Aguero's when we win the Scottish Premiership title. Well, it's this year, or when it's it's next year, or the year after that. The year after that.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, thank you very much. Before I finish up, there was just I said on the last video I did, I think it was Monday, or was it Tuesday? Cannot remember. But to people because it wasn't live, to pop any questions you've got in the YouTube comments. There's a couple, just one from CDSEO123 asking if there's plans to bring in a set piece coach. Yes, there is still plans to bring in a set piece coach, and it's an area of the game where I think McInnes himself as well really focuses on that. Having spoken to Blair Alston, he was really hands-on with that, so it's certainly be an area that I would expect a lot of focus on next season. And there was
I was just going to say, I've seen people chatting about it, like who do you think we're going to bring in, or what style of coach, like what is the profile of who we look at. And it depends which way we go with it. There's set piece analysts who are purely analysts, and they'll do this stuff on the laptop, and they'll do the homework, and they'll make a presentation and give it to the coach, and then he deals with it. And there's also set piece coaches who'll do that side of it, but they'll be on the pitch. They'll take that session. They'll lead that. And for that kind of thing, so it depends. It could be a kind of performance analyst who's done opposition work, who's really specialised in set piece stuff, or it will be like a qualified coach who's probably got coaching experience, but he's also been in an analyst kind of position as well. It depends which way. I think we're going to go more that way. Who's a coach who's also got a strong analysis background. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
I certainly asked, because it's a question that's been asked a few times. I asked Hearts a couple of weeks ago, last week, the week before, and it's something that's still, I think it's basically still being worked on, so hopefully news on that in the coming days or weeks. And then Scotty7, I remember reading or hearing about McInnes working with a scout that used to look at players for him. I know we used Jamestown, but any idea if he came with him? No, that's Russ Richardson. He played a key part at Kilmarnock and Aberdeen as well, when working as basically Dennis McInnes' head of recruitment. And no, he didn't come with him. It was just Paul Sheeran and Alan Archibald who made up his coaching staff. Obviously, with Jamestown and a recruitment team already in place, there was not the space for that. Tom, thank you very much again for that. Very informative as per usual. Anyone who is wanting to read Tom's article, it'll be in the YouTube description, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, it'll be in the description there. We'll be back. I'll be back at the start of next week. If you've got any questions, Craig and I are going to do like a Q&A episode, a live one as well, so you can get involved in that. But if you've got any other questions, just feel free to put them in the YouTube description, or reach out to me on social media, myself or Craig, or the Heart Standard account. And we will also have a episode on the best Hearts 11 of this century so far. I'm getting Craig involved in that, as well as Mark Donaldson and Scott McIntosh from Scarfs Around the Funnel, and making the kind of trying to make a big project out of that as well. So that'll be a lot of fun. Until then, be sure to check out heartstandard.co.uk. They'll have all the latest regarding Heart of Midlothian Football Club. But until the next time, if this goes out, this is planning. We've recorded this on early on Friday afternoon, hoping that Braga is signed at some point on Friday for this to go out on Friday afternoon. So if that all goes smoothly, have a good weekend. If he gets signed at a later date, then I hope you've had a lovely weekend in the past. So thanks once again, and goodbye.